Out here in the vast quiet of the New Mexico desert, secrets don't vanish. They linger. They settle into the sand, into the wind, into the stories whispered long after the people who lived them are gone. And if you listen closely, you'll hear one name again and again: Roswell. Because something strange happened here in the summer of 1947, something that changed how the world looked at the skies. The night it began was ordinary at first. A storm rolled in, lightning cracked across the plains, and somewhere above those clouds, a bright object streaked across the sky at impossible speed. People described it as glowing, tumbling, humming, as if the thing was alive. Then came the impact, a distant boom, a tremor in the ground, and then silence. The next morning, a rancher named Mac Brazel set out to check on his sheep. He wasn't thinking about UFOs or flying saucers. He was thinking about fences, water pumps, and the 100 small problems ranchers wake up to. But he didn't make it far before he saw it. A field of strange debris stretching across his land, like someone had dropped an aircraft from the sky and it exploded on impact. Except nothing about this debris looked like any aircraft he knew. He picked up pieces of metal that behaved like no metal he'd ever touched. Thin and weightless, you could crumple it in your hand, and it would unfold itself, smoothing back into place. There were beams covered in symbols, almost like writing, but not from any language he recognized, and long, lightweight pieces that looked like wooden sticks, except they weren't wood at all. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't from a weather balloon. At least, that's what Brazel believed. Brazel went to the sheriff, who called the Roswell Army airfield within hours. Military vehicles rolled onto the ranch, soldiers fanned out across the desert, and the debris was gathered up and hauled away. Then came the announcement, a bold, stunning message sent to newsrooms around the country. Ray F. captures flying disc. Just like that, the word UFO entered the American vocabulary. For one moment, it felt like the world had changed. The government said they had recovered a flying saucer, and they said it publicly. And then, everything shifted. Barely a day later, the army reversed its story entirely. They called the press into a room, laid out pieces of rubber, sticks, foil, and cord, and insisted this was the real debris, a weather balloon. Nothing more. The flying disc story, a misunderstanding, they claimed. But here's the thing. Too many people had seen the original wreckage, and none of it looked anything like what the military displayed. Witnesses later said they were pressured to stay quiet. Neighbors reported strange activity on the ranch. Soldiers guarding trucks, unknown objects being moved at night. Some locals claimed they saw bodies, small and unlike humans, transported under covers. Others said the military threatened them, warning them not to talk. Nothing could be proven. But the rumors never died. For years, the story faded into the background. Then the UFO era exploded. Sightings, reports, strange lights in the sky, and Roswell returned from the shadows. People who were children in 1947 began telling new stories. Metal that couldn't be cut, beams with symbols like hieroglyphs, boxes sealed by the army, late-night transports leaving the airfield. Every new piece added another layer. Finally, in the mid-1990s, the government released a new explanation. It wasn't a weather balloon, it wasn't a flying saucer, it was Project Mogul, a classified spy balloon program built to detect Soviet nuclear tests. This explanation made sense on paper. It explained the secrecy, the military response, and the fast cover-up. But even then, something didn't quite line up. Witnesses described memory metal, something science wouldn't develop for decades. They described beams with symbols, not the simple parts of a balloon array. They described a massive debris field far too large for a single balloon crash. And most importantly, they described a level of military panic that didn't match a balloon accident. If this was just a spy balloon, why did the government release a flying disc announcement? Why seize debris so aggressively? Why threaten civilians? Why change the story repeatedly? That's the part no explanation has ever addressed. Over the decades, Roswell transformed from a desert incident into a cultural landmark. Theories multiplied. Some say the craft was extraterrestrial, a reconnaissance vehicle that malfunctioned during the storm. Others believe it was a secret experimental aircraft, something so advanced the military had to bury the truth. A few insist the entire event was orchestrated, a deliberate misdirection for Cold War intelligence operations. And then there are the ones who believe Roswell was only the first incident, not the last. Here's what we're left with: a crash no one can fully explain, a government that changed its story more than once, and a town that became the heart of a debate that still divides believers and skeptics. Was it alien? Was it military? Was it something else entirely? No matter how many answers people try to offer, the truth remains buried beneath decades of secrecy, denial, and half-admissions. And maybe that's why Roswell still haunts us. Because deep down, we suspect the real story is far stranger than any official explanation. If it wasn't a flying saucer, why did they try so hard to make us think it was? The Roswell UFO crash, the truth is still out there.